take to radio, the remix in your soul. Indie beats and killer comedy, taking control. Got that rhythm, got that wit, a perfect blend from the start of the show till the very end. Spinning tracks you never thought you'd find, expanding horizons.
Good evening. This is Pam and Anthony, and we're here to bring you conversations with creative voices, bold personalities, and people who know how to turn life into great stories.
Thanks, Pam. Today we're diving into our first conversation with a comedian, and we're really excited to welcome to the show Heath Harmison. We're going to go behind the curtain to talk about his performances, inspirations, his family, and a whole lot of fun. Welcome to Take Two Radio, the remix, Heath.
Welcome. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for being with us because I know that you are so extremely busy. I follow your social media, as you know, and you are just all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of nonstop, but that's a good problem to have, though.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So let's go back in time for a little bit. As children, we all have something we're known for in school.
yeah.
Being the troublemaker, the nerd, the popular person, the funny person. Which one were you? And how did this come into your later life, job skills?
I was always a naturally introverted kid. So I wasn't like a class clown or anything. And I was honest, I was a fat kid. So that's where a lot of my humor had to come from is I don't know, taking the pain of being bullied as a kid and dealing with all that and just kind of coming into adulthood and trying to pull the funny out of I don't know if you call it trauma, but it's something. But yeah, I was kind of known as the fat kid with a lazy eye. So I was crushing it with the ladies when I was a kid.
That makes me think of the great comedian John Panette, and he talks about being overweight and such, but he said he had to turn it into fun to have friends and to feel like he fit in and basically turn the comedy back on himself. So what type of influences influence your comedy and your approach to performing?
As far as comedians that I watch, as a kid, I watched Bill Cosby. He was a great storyteller, and an amazing comedian, not so much a person at this point, but that we come to find. Robin Williams was a big one for me as well. Watching him just be so playful all the time and just such a I don't know, just kind of a good-spirited person who really did care about people. A lot of the stuff that was dark about himself, he didn't let out, but he was just a really big influence for me and just really, he kind of taught me how to laugh, I guess, is what I felt like when it came to Robin Williams and finding my own kind of comedic style. I'm very physical and high energy as well. So I find that, pretty, a lot like Robin Williams. But I also liked, George Carlin, Richard Pryor. George Carlin was a genius, just very intellectually smart. And I just really respected watching him say things and talk about real world stuff, but also still be able to make it funny. So those are some of my influences coming up in comedy a little bit. And some of the guys I like now, I like Bill Burr. I really like Bill Burr a lot. Brian Regan's another one. He's a clean guy. Nate Bargatze, also a very funny comic now. But yeah, that's kind of my style of people.
And
All pretty
all
darn
awesome
fearless.
ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Who
Yeah.
I think we all know them and love them. Well, most of them that you mentioned, anyhow. Um,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
want to say I think that George Carlin was a psychic, but we're not going to go there right now. So,
Yeah. Yep.
as I mentioned, I know that you're really busy and you travel a lot, but I also know that you do a lot of cruises. So when you're working on cruises, that's usually what, a 2 or 3 day excursion at that point that you're on there.
I'm usually on for a week to 2 weeks at a time.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um,
So do you change up the material then nightly, or how does that work?
well, it depends on the ship that I'm on, depending on the shows. So the ship I was just on, I was on with two other comedians, and there was a comedy club on the ship. It's the Star of the Seas. Currently, I think it's the largest cruise ship in the world. Holds about 10,000 passengers. So the comedy club holds like 200 passengers in the club. So we did, I think, 14 shows a week. So I did 28 shows in 2 weeks. Um, and but I would only do, like 20 minutes a show. And the cruise line wanted the same show. So if
Oh,
anything, I was trying not to go crazy doing the same show. I always try and mix it up a little bit, otherwise I lose it.
I didn't realize that the cruise line kind of picks how you do your show.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they don't like tell you what, I mean, to an extent, I guess that you don't want
Hmm.
to, you try not to hit too much on politics or religion, things like that,
Right.
because you're dealing with people from all over the world. So, um, I've seen comedians kind of dabble in it and do it on cruise ships, but so on that ship, that's how that is. But then I'll do the theater ships, which is usually about a 14 to 1600 seat theater on the ship. And I'll do two shows in the whole week. And so I'll do a family friendly show where there's kids all over in the show. It's not a kid show, but it's a family show. So I'll do that show. And then later on in the week, I'll do an adult show. And so that I can, and those are two completely different shows.
it's got to be hard to balance back and forth. Looking out at the crowd and remembering which which version of you need to be.
Right. It's always nice actually having a child in the front row to remind you where you're at.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
let's talk about the beast, and I kind of want to frame this as a two-part. How has social media changed the path for comedians, and do you think that the component of fearlessness, like from those great comedians you mentioned before, do you think that's affected by such a social media world we're living in?
Yeah, I think social media itself is its own animal. When the pandemic happened, that's when a lot of comedians found, that's when I found TikTok basically, and found that social media was the only way to connect to the audience or your audience or find your audience again in a 2 year period. I mean, I lost all my work for 2 years. So you had to pivot. And there were a lot of older comics that were fighting it for the longest time and then found out it's like, okay, well, I can't get booked right now because I don't have followers. And so no matter how funny you are, the clubs now, theaters, different rooms, they're checking your following and seeing what you can bring. And so, Matt Rife kind of blew up, right, during the pandemic. But he became the guy for TikTok as far as comedians go. And all he did was post crowd work videos, which was smart because then you're not burning material. Because once you start posting material online, you lose that material to possibly do a special for Netflix or another, platform.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
doing the crowd work allows you to put content out to gain new fans so that so they start showing up to shows. Now, also the problem is because all they're seeing from you is crowd work videos, they think that that's what the show is. So when they
Yeah.
show up, they're trying to heckle you. They're trying to yell out and they want you to respond to them. They want to be part of the show. And when you're a comic showing up with material that you've written and that's what you want to do, that's when a lot of comics are starting to get like, hey, listen, this isn't that show. So I need you to, then they deal with the heckler in a way and, try to shut them down so that they can do the show that they planned on doing. So social media is just a crazy thing because my social media, I have a fairly good following um, on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Um, but those are just, I do some stand-up videos on there, but a lot of times it's just me and my family doing stupid videos together and uh, trying to make people laugh, doing little sketch stuff or, just kind of daily type stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I would
I go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
just as a follow up, I would imagine that it's always, that the princess and the pea kernel that, one wrong something apply, taken the wrong way could undo all the good work and exposure that you do have on social media.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to be these days, and when you're, and you did ask this about, how the older comics would have to deal with this. Like, there's a certain level you can get to that you get away with certain things, these days. But, not all these comedians can just go out and say, well, one, I think anything can be joked about, really, but it is really how you say it in your energy. It is a lot of different things. When it comes to a joke, it is not just what you're saying. It is how you're saying it. What's your tone? Where your, even a pause can change the whole joke.
Oh, even a facial expression.
A
Yep.
facial expression. Exactly. So when people are watching these shows, they are, the magic trick about comedy is if you're a really good comedian, you make it look easy. You make it look like this is just an easy thing to do. It's hard. I think stand-up comedy is the hardest performing arts there is. You're going up there with your ideas. You're telling them that you think this is funny and that they should too. And not all the audiences are going to agree with that. So, um, and people have different triggers, and these days I've had people approach me after shows about things that I've said. And I'm the probably one of the most chill comics there are. When it comes to, I really, really try not to offend people. And I try to keep it pretty lighthearted for the most part on my show. And I'll still have people because I talk about my experiences in life, right? So, I've had, I had a story where, I had to get my, I don't know what we can say on here, undercarriage checked out. I don't know, the Olsen twins.
We get it.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
had to
we're
get them
pretty.
checked out. And I have a story about what happened in my doctor's appointment with my wife. And my wife was in there because I'm scared of the doctor. So I went in there. The doctor had me cough 8 times, which I thought was weird. But I had to cough super hard and I got lightheaded and I fell into my doctor and I hit him in the face my with the
With the
twins.
boys.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the boys. The boys hit him right in the face. And so I talk about this story, right? And because it's a comical, as a comedian, if that happens to you, you can't not talk about it. It's what happened. So I tell that story, and I had a guy come up to me after my show. This was on a cruise ship too. He comes up and he's like, "Hey, I liked your show for the most part, but that doctor one that you talked about, where you made fun of testicular cancer." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what?" I'm like, "What did you?" No, there's not one time that I mentioned even cancer in the bit or making fun of any of it. I told an experience about getting checked. If anything, I'm trying to say, guys, go get checked if you fell off, and I even said that in the show. And he's like, well, I had testicular cancer. I'm like, well, I'm sorry to hear that. He's like, I'm in remission now. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. But my joke or my story is my story. And there was no making fun of that. So basically my point is with that is people are going to hear what they want to hear. And, um, and if you're ready to be offended, you're going to be, if you go to a comedy show.
Yeah.
Right. I know. I watch one comedian and he started on social media doing one version, but then when you go to his shows, he actually does another version that some people aren't happy with. And they'll say something to him on social media and he'll get on there and he'll call them out. And I'm like,
Oh boy.
oh my gosh, can you imagine? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I just would not say anything. I'm not that type of person. So, I would just let that go and be like, okay, so I don't go to a show again, right?
Yeah,
But
that's kind of my thought on that is like if you don't like the show, you can leave. Um,
mhm,
Heck, you can even ask for a refund if you want, but like, but blasting someone online about it, you know, if it's not your cup of tea about it, right?
yeah,
I mean, I get like if there's a comic being really out of pocket, like if I'm a white comedian, I go up there and say the N-word, then I should be called out. It just shouldn't
right,
happen. So, I would expect that. Um, there's just certain rules, even as a comic, that you try to follow. And some comics, you don't know what they're going through because the thing is, we're up there, we're being goofy and funny, but most comics are depressed and they're dark. And
right,
so that part of their life sometimes will weave into their show. And when that happens, it's either really good or it kind of gets like uncomfortable because you're just like, oh wow, that just took a turn.
yeah,
Because they're going through stuff, we deal with stuff just like everyone else. Maybe they had a death in the family, maybe they had their wife leave them or their husband leave them or a kid problem. There's all sorts of things out there, just regular life stuff, that will even trigger the best comedians to go off sometimes. But yeah, I mean, when you're up there, you got to be careful what you're saying and be prepared for whatever consequences might come your way if it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go.
right. Well, speaking of topics, if you had to perform a set with zero prep on one random topic, what would it be and why?
Um, if I had zero prep, I would probably talk about my kids and my family because it's just easy. It's there because I'm a storyteller. So I'm going to talk about what is going on in my life and what's going on with my kids because people relate to that. Most people can relate to that in some form. So my style has always been trying to find the topics that are going to relate to a mass audience, which is why I can do cruise ships because I have I have a fan base in India apparently that I didn't know about. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, it's crazy. And Australia, like I've never been to either one of those places, but because of online stuff, I've grown this fan base in those areas. Um, and I have people on cruise ships come up to me and these Indian people that just come up like, "Oh, we love you so much." And I was just like, "Oh my God." And I just butchered that. See, this is how you get canceled. You start doing other people's accents. But I they come up and they just like, "Oh, we love you and you're just so great." And I'm just like, "Wow, okay, yeah, I didn't know my stuff would relate to you." Because I don't know what it does across over that way. And um but yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to have your material spread across the world and have people really enjoy it.
As your approach and sets changed, from the beginning to where you are now, you talk about bringing your family into, which I think is a very safe thing to do on one end, and then you got to go home and deal with them. Um, but how has your approach and sets changed from beginning to now?
I've definitely gotten more adult over the years. Um, I used to be pretty squeaky clean. And I still am. I still can be. But my wheelhouse is more kind of PG-13 to between PG-13 and R. I don't really get raunchy, like I'm not a raunchy comedian. But that's always perspective too. A changes from person to person, but I would consider myself in that realm. There's a little language. I do talk about, different, topics now that I used to when I was, a younger comic, because like I said, I talk about my life. And so back then I was dealing with, little kids, really little kids, and dealing with life in that realm. And I was, yeah, I was super Mormon at the time as well. I was a Mormon guy trying to live that Mormon life and still do comedy at the same time. So um, that was a big change because we're no longer in that religion. So that's changed a lot for us, which has kind of helped me to like open other avenues into my comedy. Um, Not just to be like dirty, just just I don't know what it opened up different, I don't know, neural pathways in my brain or something. But yeah, I think mostly it's just, especially since my kids are older, they're dealing with more adult things in their lives, and which changes my material naturally. And then I'm dealing with stuff more in my life as I'm getting older and dealing with stuff with, just what happens when you get older. So I think naturally I just start talking about different things like that. And, I'm still physical. I do some voice stuff, and I'm not like an impressionist or anything, but I do a few that I try. I don't want to insult the actual voice impressionist by saying I am one. So, um, but yeah. So I think I don't know if I answered your question very well, but I did. That's what's kind of changed for me.
Well, I'll throw a follow-up. Is there a moment that you're most proud of?
Oh man, I've had a lot of cool moments. There was a time, and I grew up in a town of Twin Falls, Idaho, and that's in a town where, there's not a lot of dreamers coming out of Twin Falls, Idaho. There are some. I'm not saying that, but they're like, for me to say that I'm going to be a professional stand-up comedian was really difficult for my parents at first. And it took a few years for them to fully get on board. And one of the moments there's two moments that I'm going to tell you real quick, and I'll try not to be too long on answering it. But, um, I lived in Vegas for 8 years, and I performed a lot at the MGM Grand, and I would perform at Brad Garrett's comedy club there. So Brad Garrett, if you don't know, is the
Yeah.
big brother from Everybody Loves Raymond, right?
Yes, love him.
Um, One of the best people I've met in this business. Just the sweetest person on the planet. Will do anything to help you if he can. And my dad is a huge, huge fan of Brad Garrett's. And my parents just happened to come in town to Vegas from Idaho when I was performing at the MGM, and I was working with Brad that week. And so before the show, I'm sitting there, kind of in the showroom a little bit, trying to get my parents situated. Brad got him a VIP booth, or he really took care of him. And the manager of the club comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, you want to bring your parents back to meet Brad?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is before the show." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I just go to my parents. I'm like, "Hey guys, come with me real quick." And they're like, "Where are we going?" I'm like, "Just come with me." We walk in the green room, and Brad was everything I needed him to be in that moment.
That is
'Cause
wonderful.
my-
Yeah.
like, it gets a little emotional for me, honestly, because my dad is a very hard man. He grew up in a tough home. He's a lot more sweet now. He's always been a sweet man, but he's just different that way. He's the walk it off guy, and just kind of a, real blue collar worker. He just works really hard, and never see I've never, not that I've never seen my dad cry, but not often. So we walk in there, and I literally watched my dad transform into a kid when he sees Brad. And Brad's 6'7", so he's already a huge dude, right? I walk in there, And Brad's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the Harmisons. You to look at you. Oh my gosh, this is where Heath came from. This is amazing." He's just being Brad, very funny, just being very lovable. My
Mhm.
dad goes in for a handshake. Brad grabs him and hugs him and just wraps his arms around him. And
Oh,
my dad has the biggest grin on his face. And Brad took a minute and looks at both my parents and he just says, "Your son is a hysterical comedian and a very talented person, and he's going to make it in this business. And you guys should be very proud of the work that he's doing." Um, because I know I am. And he's like, "I've got to hang out with Heath and spend time with him over the last few years. And I know you know this because you're his parents, but he's very talented and just a good person." And
Mm.
I'm trying to hold my stuff together, and
Yeah.
my mom's crying, and I'm just like, and my dad's just grinning from ear to ear, and um, so I saw a switch flip in my parents, that hadn't been quite flipped yet. They had said they supported me and stuff like that, and they've seen me do stuff, but in that moment, it kind of changed for them. It was like, this is real, because to them, Brad Garrett was just a character on a TV show. That when you watch TV and you come from a small town, these people in some aspects don't really exist, right? They're not, they don't feel real to you. But when they got to meet him, it totally changed their whole aspect on what I'm doing. So, anyways, that was the moment. And I know that was a little long. Um, the second one was performing for the troops overseas. And it's not in an order. I tell people performing for the troops overseas is hands down one of the best things I've done in my career. Um, you go over and they're in it. They're going through the hard stuff. These are young kids over there.
Yes.
And people forget that. I think people forget who's going over there. They're not these older hard men. They're young kids and they're going over there and fighting for us to have whatever freedoms we can have. Um, and you don't really know unless you've been over there to see how it is. And I went into some places where they shot off a rocket 50 yards away from me.
oh my
And
God.
we were in the zone, and, you know, um, and I got to make these soldiers laugh, and you could see the, because one show in particular, we were 30 miles away from Mosul, in Iraq, where ISIS had currently taken over. That's when the rocket shot off and stuff. And right before this particular show, one of the soldiers in their regiment had gotten killed a few days before. And so there was a funeral right before our show. Uh, so there's four of us comedians who were watching this funeral from a distance. They had, bagpipes. They had the whole deal. They had the rifle with the helmet and just all of it. And so all four of us comedians are like, we're crying, like just four grown men just crying watching this. We don't know this person, but we're seeing this and feeling the realness of all this. And
Exactly.
then 30 minutes after, we're doing a comedy show. And we would switch every show who starts. And the first, I would happen to be first that day. So we're doing an outside show. I think it was like 120 some degrees outside. It was super hot, and they made shift a little stage for us, and all these soldiers are in full gear. And and you go up there. I walked up there. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to break through this exterior shell they have to put on. And I'm seeing their faces, and they're just hard faces. These men and women, just soldiers. And I'm just like, I just got to do my thing. And I start doing my stuff, and I start seeing their faces the muscles in their faces start to soften, and and then now they're just full blown laughing and just like loving every word that I'm saying. And it was just such a cool moment to watch that from that perspective. And then afterwards, we're signing autographs because we're kind of mini celebrities when we're over there. And one of the soldiers comes up and go to shake his hand, and he goes and he hugs me. And he's got his rifle in front. So his rifle's between me and him. And I'm kind of shocked that he's hugging me right now. And so I'm kind of, patting him on the back, and he starts shaking, and he's crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I just want to thank you. I just lost one of my best friends a couple of days ago. So this funeral we just watched was this guy's best friend. And he's just like, I just really needed this. And, really kind of just brought the perspective of what I am actually doing out there. So anyways, those are two moments for me.
Thank
Oh
you
my
for
gosh.
yeah, thank you
That's
for sharing that.
wow. I mean, you really, really have touched a lot of lives, including your own parents, and that says a lot. So, thanks again, like Anthony said, for doing that. It's just wow.
Yeah.
Well, it almost made me want to cry just listening to it.
Oh,
Um,
they're a little bit more somber. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, they're real moments, and I've had a few of those. So it's always times when I need them too. When I start, because this business is hard, and you start, sometimes you're questioning, am I even funny? Can I even do this anymore? Is this like, and then you have those moments, and then you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. I am still doing this well, so it's really cool.
Well, I can attest to you being funny because I always laugh at everything that you put up there on social media. And there is also another thing that you've put up as well with a group of guys. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the Middle Age Mayhem show that I'm doing,
Yes,
or? Yep.
yes, with you and Scott Henry and Logan Peterson and Tyson Allred. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine going to see you guys and not, having to wear a depends, let's put it that way. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's a very fun show. Very
well,
fun show.
how well do you know each other? How did this all come together? And, who does the routines, who comes up with them?
So Scott and I are best friends. Okay. And Scott and I met during the pandemic on TikTok. Like I was just like, I was a fan of his, and I hit him up, and he hits me back, and he's like, oh my gosh, I've seen your videos. I think you're great too, man. They're very funny. And I'm like, well, my wife and I have a podcast. Would you want to be on it? And he's like, oh man, I'd love that. So we ended up going to his house and doing a podcast episode with him. And then after that, we just really hit it off. So, a few years, go forward. Um, Scott opened for me for a year on a comedy tour called The Gentleman Comedy Tour. And we did a few cities in that year. And um, the idea was he was newer to comedy and trying to, and I was basically kind of mentoring him and helping him write and helping him with, things on stage and all the things. So he became a really good comedian and very funny guy. And so, but life happens. He's got a wife, he's got kids, and, he's like, I gotta, I gotta do some things for my personal life, and I hope to be able to come back to this. So, I was like, hey man, family comes first. You need to do what you need to do. And he did. And then about a year later, he hit me up, and he's like, hey man, I was just at this influencer event in Florida with these guys, Logan and Tyson, who have a podcast called Dad Bods and Beards. Very funny guys, just naturally funny, and big personalities. And I'm like, okay. He's like, they are in with a manager who is knows a lot of people and is wanting to build a comedy show. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, when they presented it to me, I said, we have to have Heath Harmison on this tour. He's a seasoned veteran comedian. He's been doing this for over 20 years. And we need someone like that if this show's going to work. And
Sure. Yeah.
so basically, I talked to the manager about it, and because Scott's got a huge following, and these other two have a decent following, but they had not done much stand-up comedy. And so I'm like, okay, so you want us to do a show a comedy show, but these guys don't have any, like, a lot of material and all that stuff. So basically what ended up having to happen is I wrote a whole show. Me and my wife, Molly, who's also a very funny comedian, she does improv comedy. Um, Her and I wrote a show for us four guys to do this middle-age mayhem thing, basically taking on the energy of dealing with middle-aged life and what that's like. And we do a mix of stand-up, improv, and sketch comedy. So it's more of a comedy variety show. And it just feels like a big party. And it's like when people come, they just it's really just a high energy from start to finish. And it's just a lot of fun. And the guys are doing a great job. Um, and we're trying to kick off a full tour in 2027. So we're doing some shows this year. We've done a few already. We're going to be doing our next one right now is um, in Arizona at a big celebrity wine festival thing happening in Scottsdale, Arizona. So we're going to go do that one. And then after that, we're going to be booking some other shows throughout the year to really fully get the show completely ready for the full tour in 2027.
Well, I'm telling you, if you don't come to Chicago, I'm going to come looking for you.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, Chicago is definitely going to be on that list. So, yeah.
Yeah, we got to throw Miami on there too. That's where I'm currently.
Hey, Miami, Florida is also like we've found a couple places where our followings generate from, and Florida, Chicago area, Atlanta, Denver, they're all kind of all over the place, and Texas. So we're gonna be going. We're supposed to be hitting like 40 different dates. So that's the idea right now. It might be more, but definitely those two areas are going to be on the list.
I'll
Well,
tell you.
if I could be so forward, sorry, Anthony, I need you to go to the Zanies in Rosemont. Okay, Anthony, go.
Zanies and Rosemont. Okay.
Right.
And I was going to say, Pam and I at our respective shows are going to be, knocking on that backstage door saying, "Hey, can we get a quick little follow up? To share."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sure the guys would love to do a little thing with you guys for sure.
You spoke about your parents before, and something just clicked when you spoke about Molly. I'm loving that the whole family has become part of the act. I mean, you're even up there talking about plucking nose hairs and such. Is so another two part. Is
Yeah.
there anything you won't do, and do you have to rope them in, or are they as spontaneous as it seems in the outtakes that you put up there?
My so my son is basically me. So he is, if I want to do a video, he's in. He's like, all right, let's go.
He's your twin. He is your
Yeah.
twin.
That's what we are always told. Like we are, so there was a moment I just did a video. I'm like, because I could never really see it. I could kind of see, I know his mannerisms and stuff are a lot like me, but as far as like the look on his face, I'm like, for some reason, I just don't see it. I see my own face in the mirror every day. But then there was a day in the car, just like, I think it was yesterday or the day before, like I'm doing a video with him, and then I'm like, and I'm looking at him like right in his face. I'm like, okay, I see it. I finally see it. Like you look like, um, but yeah, I'll say this. My daughter is the most naturally funny one in the family. Just hilarious. And she wants nothing to do with most of it. But when I want to do a video, she's usually pretty like, yeah, let's do it. She's like she's not embarrassed, and I always go through the idea with her first and see. And there's sometimes I've come up with an idea. She's like, I don't know, Dad. I don't know if I want to do that one. And I'm like, okay, so, but my
Doesn't
wife
fit
is
my
always
brand.
What's that?
Doesn't fit my brand.
Right, right. Yeah, she's like, Dad, I'm trying to build my own brand here. But no, she's very artistic, my daughter. And she's a very good improviser, actually. She does so my wife and I taught improv classes, and we had our daughter do it, and she was, oh my gosh, she's so talented. But again, it's just not what she wants to do, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. but I don't want to push this on her ever. Or either one of my kids, really. My son wants to be a performer. He's been doing stand-up comedy since he was 6 years old, and even then, that he came to me to do it. And so he's not. I don't think stand-up is what he's going to ultimately do. He wants to be more like actor. He's a great singer, and really would love. His dream is would be Broadway. He wants to be he's done a lot of stage acting and stuff. So. And my wife, she's a singer and an actress as well. So, yeah, we're kind of a performance family. And my daughter will appease us most of the time, but she's very talented. And I don't know, we'll see. She's 17 years old now, and she's just trying to figure herself out. And maybe she'll come into it and decide it's something she really wants to do. But until then, she'll just appease her dad and do some videos with him every once in a while.
Yeah, like teaching us that you know nothing about math.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think she's going to have to teach you a couple of things before asking for help with with her homework.
Oh my gosh, I can't help her with her homework anymore. I mean, that happened a lot sooner than I thought it would, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, what grade are you in? Sixth grade? This is sixth grade.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
I get that. I have four kids. They're all adults. But
Yeah.
even when they were growing up, and bring some of their things to me, especially like math, and math was always my good subject in school when I was growing up. But when they would come to me and they changed so much of how they used to do it, I was like,
Yeah, they
let's
really
ask your
have.
dad.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. My wife was really good at math, and I was okay. I wasn't like great at it, but I wasn't, but even my wife was like, "Yeah, I don't know how to help you here." Like,
Right?
yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, that's where the tutors and stuff come in, but they get through it. They come
Exactly.
out
Yep.
the other side. That's the good part. So you are currently touring yourself, like a standalone, right?
Yeah, most of my dates right now are filled with a lot of cruise ships. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
doing a lot of cruises, but I am doing, other venues as well. And clubs and filling in dates with those as well. So
Well, I would imagine they can find that stuff out on your website or social
yeah,
media.
yeah, they can find dates on my website. I'm posting, if you follow me on Instagram, I and Facebook, I post all my stuff on dates and shows and when I'm doing those and all sorts of stuff. So like this weekend, we've been doing this show for this is the 11th year. My wife and I doing a show called The Relationship Show. It's an improv based show where we will pull a volunteer couple from the audience. They come up on stage, we interview them, ask them how they met and fell in love, and then we reenact their story for the audience, adding in a lot of comedic elements and things like that. So
That's awesome.
it's a great show. It's
That
such
is
a fun show.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a bonus question in here. I loved the whole portion of our conversation about mentoring and um if it's that age old question, if you could go back and speak to yourself, the night before that first show, about the journey that was to come, what would you say to yourself?
Um, Probably slow down a little bit. um, Take time with the audience, let them laugh and let them enjoy it. Um, there are times where I would speak over the laughter, and because when you're starting out, they're like, all right, you got 3 minutes, or you got 5 minutes, or 7 minutes, and so you're like, oh, I want to get all this in and stuff like that. So you kind of blow through stuff, but really, if I was if I'm talking about the business part of it, I would say take what your critics say with a grain of salt. Because I'm kind of a sensitive person, so um, I came up pretty fast because I was different than a lot of the comedians that I started with, and So I did get a little heat from local comics and, things like that. Just kind of a lot of back talk and stuff like that. And so it's like, um, not letting my feelings get so invested in these people. Because I care about people. So, and that's just, I'm never going to change that about myself, but just really kind of have more of a guard up, when dealing with the business side of comedy. Um, I just say I don't do comedy for the drama. I do it because I want to make people laugh, bring some joy, and try to take them away from the daily grind of life. And sometimes I am talking about real stuff, but I try to bring the light to it, so it takes away some of the heaviness that can be held over people. So I'm not sure if I fully answer your question, but the advice that I give myself is just really, I think honestly, just kind of feeling present in the moment and letting the moment happen as it's happening, and um, not just always waiting for the next thing to come, because it's gonna come. I just gotta be present with the people I'm with and the audiences that I'm with, and just give them the best show I can possibly give them.
Nice. Pam, I feel like we could go on for another hour, but I guess it's time for us to ask for your socials and point out any projects, anywhere you want people to go from here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, follow me I'm on the main platforms I do are Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Trying to do more on YouTube as well, but you can find me. It's just my name, Heath, like the candy bar, or Heath Ledger, but Heath Harmison. You can find Heath Harmison comedy on Instagram, and then Heath Harmison, at Heath Harmison on TikTok and Facebook. And then you can find my website at heathharmison.com. Be looking out for the Middle Age Mayhem tour. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the guys on it are very funny, and it's just a very high energy, fun show. So be looking out for that. And if you see me coming to your city, buy your tickets and come see me. I'm fragile, so I need those seats filled.
Front row for me.
Yeah.
That's sometimes not a good thing, though, with comics. So
Yes.
in the front row, you're kind of taking a chance there.
You
But
can, yes, and it depends on, for me, it's all about the hecklers. If you're going to sit in front and then heckle me, then you're asking for it. So,
oh, I know, right?
yeah, but anyway,
Yeah, no, I don't usually like stand out and start stuff with people. I just like to laugh, and
yeah,
and so I will definitely be there if you're around my area. Remember, Zanies and Rosemont. Okay,
okay,
but
for sure.
I just wanted to say we loved hearing the stories behind the jokes and your journey so far with your career, and we'd love to have you back again.
I would love to come back. You guys are great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I will be one of the hecklers. My partner and I are
Oh,
definitely going to be
All
loud and
right.
fun.
Hey, all I say is if you can give it, just be ready to take it back. That's
right.
Well, everybody, please check out Heath's socials and the check out the nose hairs. That one is hysterical. But for us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We are Take Two Radio and Take Two Radio the Remix. You can also find it at our website itself, take2radio.com. And for all things, Sunday Edition and Anthony Corona, there is an anthonycorona.com that you can check out as well. Heath, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much. You guys are great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Keeping dreams alive. Sunrise breaks on the city's Radio, the remix in your soul. Indie beats and killer comedy, taking control. Got that rhythm, got that wit, a perfect blend from the start of the show till the very end. Spinning tracks you never thought you'd find, expanding horizons, blowing up your mind. Then a punchline drops sharp and so precise, makes you lean in closer, hear it twice. No filter, no pretense, just honest fun. Underneath the starlight or the morning sun, they pick you up when you're feeling low, with a killer riff and a joke to know. Oh, take two radio, the remix in your soul. Indie beats and killer comedy, taking control. Got that rhythm, got that wit, a perfect blend from the start of the show till the very end. Forget the worry, let the good times roll. They connect the artists, make your spirit whole. With every segment a story unfolds, more than just a broadcast, more precious than gold. Oh, take two radio, the